Welcome. I trust you found the entrance without too much trouble. We do like to keep it exclusive. We're about to begin a very special tour today, one that unpacks the hidden architecture of pretty much all of global commerce. So, if you're ready, we're going to dive into the complex and, I think, fascinating world of global value chains. Let's begin, shall we?
Right this way. Mind the velvet rope. I'm host A, your guide, and you must be host B. Those overalls are certainly a choice. Do be careful with that backpack, won't you? That vase is, shall we say, irreplaceable. Now, in here, the normal hustle and bustle of the global economy just fades away. It allows us to see its inner workings with absolute clarity.
And here is our first piece, here in what we call the stakeholder atrium. A little overwhelming at first glance, isn't it? But what's so interesting is how it visualizes the sheer complexity of it all. Notice the delicate brushwork connecting everyone, from the company headquarters right over here to the governments, the NGOs, and of course, the public. It's not just a straight line, it's a web, a beautiful, intricate web. Whoa, okay, I get it. Everyone's connected to everyone. But what is all of this, really? What's the thing that's actually being, chained together?
An absolutely excellent question. As we stand here admiring this masterpiece of complexity, that fundamental question really comes to the surface, doesn't it? We can see all the players, but what's the game? What's the engine driving it all? Understanding this is foundational to appreciating everything else in our little collection today. So, let's define our terms.
And here we have it, etched in brass. A value chain isn't just about making a thing. No. It's the entire journey. From the very first spark of an idea in a designer's head, through sourcing the raw materials, manufacturing, marketing, distribution, even what happens after you buy it. The key thing to remember, the most crucial point, is that at every single one of those stages, value is being added.
Okay, so this is different from a supply chain then. I feel like people use those terms like they're the same thing. A common and forgivable error. This particular exhibit clarifies that exact distinction. A supply chain is about logistics, the nuts and bolts of moving goods around. Think of it as the road. A value chain, well, that's about creating value. It's the story of how the car was designed, improved, and perfected at each stop along that road. One is about moving, the other is about improving. See the difference? Okay, I think so. The value chain is the whole story, not just the shipping part. I get it. All right, lead on. Whoa, soft floors? That's a nice change.
Indeed. Welcome to the Governance Gallery. Now, this piece here brilliantly illustrates the 5 main ways these global value chains are managed. It's best to think of it as a spectrum. Over on the far left, you have very, very loose coordination. But as you move your eye to the right, you'll see the power gets more concentrated and the whole chain becomes much more tightly integrated. Let's take a closer look at each style, shall we?
First up, we have market. This is the simplest form, really. Think about buying something like coffee beans on the open market. It's a straightforward transaction, almost always based on price. There's no long-term relationship. It's just independent firms buying and selling. It's all about the deal that's happening right now.
Next, we have the modular style. This is a bit more like a plug-and-play relationship. A lead firm provides the exact specifications, and a very competent supplier builds it using their own systems. Now, the supplier is highly capable, but they're also easily replaceable if a cheaper or better option comes along, just like swapping out a standard-sized battery.
This one sounds more like a real partnership, though. You've hit the nail on the head. This is the relational style. Here you find deep trust and a huge amount of shared knowledge flowing back and forth. This mutual dependence, this bond, makes it very costly and difficult for either side to just walk away. They are, for all intents and purposes, invested in each other's success.
Yikes. This one sounds kind of rough. It can be. In the captive style, we see a really significant power imbalance. You have these small, dependent suppliers who rely almost entirely on one massive buyer. And as you can imagine, that lead firm holds all the cards. They exert a tremendous amount of control.
And finally, we arrive at hierarchy. This is, simply put, total control. The lead firm doesn't bother with outsourcing, it owns everything. The entire value chain, from the raw material to the final product on the shelf, is managed as different departments inside one single vertically integrated company. There are no partners here, only employees. So, those are the different structures. But what makes a company pick one over another? Or, switch? For that answer, we must proceed to our next exhibit, the forces of change. Do watch your step. This next piece is a true masterpiece of strategic thinking, I must say. It lays out the dynamic dance between these external pressures and a company's internal decisions. It really shows us how global value chains are constantly being reshaped, reformed, and restructured. Let's zoom in on the key components.
Look right here. On the left side of the framework, we see the external forces, specifically trade policies. These are the big levers that governments get to pull. Things like import tariffs and quotas that restrict trade, or, on the flip side, free trade agreements that encourage it. These create powerful currents that every firm has to navigate. So if a government puts up a big wall, how do the companies get around it? Precisely the right question. They have essentially two big strategic options, as you see illustrated here. They can switch, move production to a new country, find a new supplier, or target a completely different market. Or they can upgrade, improve their processes, their products, or their overall function to become more competitive right where they are.
And the plaque right next to the exhibit really sums it all up perfectly. Government policies, it says, provide the momentum for change. But it's the strategic actions of the firms themselves that are crucial in deciding how the value chain will actually be reshaped. So you could say the government gives them a push, but the companies decide where they're going to jump. It's quite astute, really. And now for our final gallery. This section is less about intricate frameworks and more about stark, real-world impact. You won't find any gilded frames in here, just hard data. I suggest you prepare yourself.
First, we have this number, 49%. Whoa, that is the staggering U.S. tariff rate on imports from Cambodia. Just try to imagine adding nearly 50% to the cost of every single suitcase or pair of shoes coming from a factory there. That is pressure.
And it's a similar story for Vietnam, 46%. Another enormous external force pushing firms to make that crucial choice we just saw in the last exhibit. Do we switch or do we upgrade? Suddenly, moving your entire operation to another country might not just seem like a good idea, it might seem like the only option.
And next, Thailand at 37%. The numbers are so significant. My word, it's quite something. Did you just drop your eyepiece? A momentary lapse. The pressure to restructure that these numbers represent is simply immense. And this chart really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? You can see Cambodia and Vietnam right there at the top, facing the highest tariff rates from the US, even higher than China, in this snapshot. This is that trade policy force we talked about, but displayed in stark, unavoidable reality. It's quite a thing to behold. And that brings our private tour to a close. As we walk back toward the main hall, you'll start to hear the sounds of the global economy again. But hopefully you now have a better eye for the hidden structures and the powerful forces that are shaping it all. I do hope you found it illuminating.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to take with you as you go. You've seen the frameworks, you've seen the pressures, and you've seen the hard data. Now I want you to look at the products all around you. Your phone, your clothes, your coffee. Which external forces, which government policies, and which strategic company actions are shaping the invisible chains that bring them to you? You see, the exhibit is all around us. Thank you for joining me.